All right. So I have one more question for you, Jim. I came up with this idea of Who Am I Wednesday? And it's not the titles that we bear or the our pecking order in a family or anything like that, but it's really about everything that you talk about, like we are a speck of dust in the universe or, a soul that has chosen this body. So what is your take on that?
I agree.
Short answer.
It's what's amazing. Every once in a while, I'm sure you've heard this too. You will hear someone say that we are made of the same stuff that the stars are made, and it's a hard concept to grasp. And yet, I think most of us hold stars in high esteem because they sparkle and they're beautiful and they're mysterious, and I mean all of these things. And if you think about the fact that everything is made of the same stuff, but just in a different form, and you realize that we are as magnificent as the star, or the star is as magnificent as we are, or the beautiful flower that we see is another representation of the same energy, the same divine essence that we are, and we recognize that everything is of the same thing that has, for whatever reason, has taken that particular shape to express through. And if we can get away from looking at the physical body, and this is really going to get into things like judgment,
Yeah.
because we can look at another person. Let's just say somebody is overweight. And of course, the unfortunate thing about many people who are overweight, the first thing most people think is they're lazy, they don't take care of themselves. I mean, all these other things that we can say. And yet that has nothing to do with it. The soul that's contained within that has chosen that physical body to experience and express through for whatever reason. And that's not something that we will ever know. And I think that if we could recognize that and honor and respect each other for the life path we have chosen as the soul that we are, get away from what we perceive just to be the physical form and judging the physical form. I'll give you an example of something, of an experience I had. I'm kind of jumping around with this. I was getting my hair cut, and this is actually a story that's in my book. I was getting my hair cut one day, and while I was waiting there to be called to the chair where my stylist was, she was styling the hair of this mother, and I'm going to say the mom was probably in her 50s. I can't be sure, but it appeared to be somewhere in that age. Sitting beside her in a wheelchair was her adult son. Maybe she was older than that, but her adult son, again, I couldn't tell his age. Severely challenged, mentally and physically, severely challenged. He was strapped into the chair so that he could be held upright. And he would jump around wildly, and she was talking to him and laughing with him, and he was laughing and just in his wheelchair, just. And I remember watching that, and first thought was, God bless you, the mom, for what she was doing and how she was handling the situation, which I know was extremely difficult. But then she would say something to her son, and he would laugh hysterically. And it was a wild laugh. I mean, an out of control kind of thing, but you could tell he was absolutely filled with joy.
Mm.
But the expression of it through his body was totally different than what we would say. And if you happened to walk by and you weren't a party to the conversation as I was, you would say something was wrong.
Yeah.
But I'm sitting there, I'm going, that is without a doubt the most incredible expression of love I've ever seen.
Mm.
And when you get to the who am I on Wednesday, well, that's who we are on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And we have to recognize that and get beyond this physical perception and recognize that we've each come here in this physical body, which is the perfect embodiment for what we're here to experience and express in this world. And not judge other people, because as I said earlier, that's judgment against ourselves. And we've got to accept ourselves for who we are and what we are and how we're here to experience and express, and take responsibility for our lives, for what we've chosen to do in the past, but also what we're choosing from this moment forward. in terms of how we want to experience and express life, and how we want to be perceived in the world, and how we want to experience ourselves in this world. How do you want to be remembered? And while that doesn't really have any bearing on it, because how I want to be remembered has no bearing on anything other than that's just my perception of how I want people to think about me. But I think we all want to be remembered in a very positive way, in a kind way, in a loving way, in a beneficial way, in a supportive way, as someone who made a difference in the world, whether it was by something we did, something we said, or just who we were being when we're connecting with other people. And that connection is what holds us all together.
That's such a beautiful story. Thank you for sharing that. I mean, it's like that is when we think of positively impacting the world, to your point, sometimes we think about legacy, right? But I mean, what legacy is she leaving there? Everywhere she goes, people see how she brings joy out of her son and how they have that bond and relationship, deep love.
Right.
And that is really seriously lacking in the world. So she's powerfully impacting the world every time she goes to get her hair cut.
Right.
I'm sure he gets his hair cut too. You may have missed that one.
Yeah. 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 It was remarkable. And that was probably only 6 or 7 years ago. And being my age, I was glad I had that experience and that recognition. And I'm not sure I would have had that same thought 20 years ago. But it just shows where I am now versus where I was in terms of my recognition of the world and who all of us are and the connection that we all have with one another. I don't even want to say connection. There is no division. So it's not about us being connected. It's that we are all one. There's not any lines of demarcation other than the ones we put there.
Yeah, see, now that's a whole different conversation. When I started studying, I don't know if you've ever read Dr. Candace Pert,
No.
but the
I'm
molecule.
familiar with who she is, though, but I have not read it.
Yeah, she's from this DC metro area. Of course, she's passed now. But when she was talking about how we appear to be a solid form, but we're not. We're just kind of like energy fields, and that's really the way our brains are created. We see the different individual forms, but we're not. We're just like a blob.
What's interesting to me, I don't know if I'm gonna be able to describe this. Have you seen like on a commercial where it'll show like a I would say a field of energy, and let's just say it's a car that's being made,
Okay.
and that it shows that the car is being made, that everything is still connected, like it's just dots, and then all of a sudden this car appears and it's still all the different dots, but yet everything else is still part of the same dots. Well, that's the way that I perceive life, is that it's one continuous. Well, it is. It's one continuous energy field with different forms that have decided to take shape or that have chosen to take shape within it. And there's no break in between anything. It's just all one continuous energy. I don't know how else to put it. It's I wish I could have that to show it, because I think it would make more sense if I could show
Yeah.
it.
No, I know what you mean. It's kind of like the animation, right? In commercials
Yeah.
where they show the concept of the car and then it pops.
Or even in Star Trek, when somebody would say, beam me up, Scotty, and they would be pixelated.
Yes.
But if you think about everything being pixelated like that, then that gives you an idea that it's all part of that same energy field. And yet it's not in as solid a form.
Yeah, that's
Of course,
true.
there's a lot of people that don't know who Star Trek was or Scotty, so
There is a new version of Star Trek.
I know. But was Scotty on there?
Oh, I don't know. That's a good question. I guess we're dating ourselves.
Yeah.
But tuning fork people would disagree with you, but because there is an end to our individual fields. But that I've seen. Have you ever seen someone use a tuning fork?
Yes.
Yeah. So it's a very interesting thing, but definitely we are all an energy force, and we in that way should just we should not should on ourselves, but it would
Right.
be best to look in each other's eyes and see the mirror of ourselves.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep.
Thank you for your
Yep.
thoughts on that.